Oh, we are live. We're live. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Back again. Time for some Type 40 extra. Type 40 here with us exclusively on the Spacebook channel with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. And yeah, Charlotte's here too. Hi, Charlotte. You okay?
Hello. Yes, it's nice to be back for Dot 2. I enjoyed the Spacebook when I did end of year type stuff, but it's nice to be back to talk about Who.
Yeah, that was a laugh, wasn't it? It does blow the cobwebs away to talk about something different now and again. But yeah, we're back in the console room. Well, I say in the console room. We're sort of outside, really, because it's quite cold out, isn't it? Have you noticed? Everybody's wrapping up, even the phone boxes.
I was going to say, I've got my hot chocolate, so that's how you know it's cold.
I've got a warm drink as well. I've got it's boiled water with orange and pineapple squash.
Oh, that sounds a bit fancy. I just like if I have something like that, it's hot Vimto. That's my sort of thing. If it's not a hot chocolate or a coffee.
Well, I think mine sounds a little Enid Blyton.
It does a bit.
But yeah, the reason why we've got together, everybody, is to run through some breaking news. Well, I say breaking news. It was either going to be something or it was going to be not much at all. It turns out it's not much at all. But it's still something for us to get together and talk about, Charlotte, and for you guys to comment along with too. Because, yeah, we're doing this one. This Type 40 Extra is going out live because, well, why not? We were free, so were you. And, yeah, I've had a great time making these Type 40 Extras over the last few weeks. This last block, we've done unboxings and reviews and roundtables and general chit-chat, Charlotte. We've talked about lots of different subjects, like panels of 2 or 3 people. And just try some new ideas, really. But it's time to get back to the coal face. And there'll be more about what's going on with Type 40 Extra and Type 40 Live later on in this show. We're streaming live to YouTube, as always, of course, and over there to the Type 40 Facebook group. Hello, everybody. So you can have your say in the comments section too about all the stuff we're going to get into over the next however long. And just in case you missed it, yeah, Hit the Big Man was on the TV last night. We're going to talk about that too. We have been joined by people already. We've got a couple of people joined. Have you got a warm drink? Gary Akers, he's here, the retro doc. I've no idea what time it must be for Gary. I think probably about 3 a.m. But
He's very devoted. He's very devoted, our Gary.
Crimpling doubloons here with an ahoy shipmates. Good to see you too, CD. David Mullins here, Northwest. Are you in the Northwest? I think he's asking you, Charlotte. I'm in Blackburn.
I'm Northwest. I'm not going to say where.
At an undisclosed location.
Yes.
Hey all from Paul Toastland. Am I pronouncing that properly, do you think, Charlotte?
Oh, you're asking me names. Like, weirdly, I can give you like my Slavic names for my Witcher stuff, but you ask me like English names, and I'm like, no.
Slavic names. We should test her on that, everybody. Like, what do you think? Test Charlotte on her Slavic name. Matt Potts here too. Has Charlotte got a new camera?
No, but my house did that whole, do you know when you turn the internet off and then you put it back on again? So hopefully that means if there's any connections, because the last stream I was on, my camera did go sideways a few times and it did some funny things. So hopefully that means it's fixed now.
Have you been rebooted? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically the house got rebooted. So hopefully
we've rebooted Charlotte. Everybody, she's up and she's running. Paul is felt the cold when the delivery man came. Have they let the cold in, Paul? I hope it was worth it. Whatever they were.
I was going to say, if he's letting the cold in, tell him to shut the door. He must have kept it open.
Irish cream liqueur. Is that what? That's what you're drinking, not what you've had delivered. Okay. Oh, I need to get back into the swing of this. I've been away too long. Aislinn Burkholder is here with us too, Charlotte. Says soft biscuits with a bit of cocoa powder in them. Not too sweet. Southern biscuits are a bit like scones. Biscuits. Is it biquette? Is that a thing? But different with a diet Dr. Pepper. Aislinn Burkholder knows how to live.
That's a posh drink, as I would refer to it as.
Posh. Sounds like a lot of hard work to me. I mean, boiling water was as much work as I'm going to put in. I didn't even have to stir.
Folks.
Yes, obviously with a hot chocolate or a cocoa or whatever else, you have to stir it. I didn't even have to do that with this. Philip King says, good afternoon, have a cup of coffee. Look at this. Pronounced Toastland. Thanks for that, Paul. Yeah. And Eastlands in the south of Memphis, Tennessee, northeast of New Orleans, Louisiana. Hello, all. The quality is much better, Charlotte. Now we're talking about the drink.
That's good. Tech doesn't hate me all the time. It's amazing when it works.
This is where we fight back, and just in time, isn't it? It's just in time for the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. We're very excited about that here, aren't we, Charlotte?
Oh, I'm so happy that now, like, we're not waiting anymore. We're actually in the anniversary year. I'm so excited.
We can get cracking. And of course, here on Type 40 Extra, this is our before show, after show, and in between show. And it's a chance for us to scroll the view screen across the whole universe, clock the fixed points that are going on, off, and on screen in our favourite television series, the world's longest running science fiction and fantasy show. And there seems to be more Doctor Who to talk about than ever, doesn't there, Charlotte? Have you noticed how things, particularly in the last 2 or 3 months, it's cranking up and cranking up and cranking up?
Yeah, because obviously we've got filming back again because they had the break. So that's nice just to see little... Today I've seen some stuff pop up, which is nice with Millie.
Really?
That's happening.
More.
And then it's just nice to have like the brand active. That's what I'm noticing, especially in the last couple of months. It's like it's proper now started. Russell's going out doing interviews. We've got the socials really starting to like interact now a lot more with the fans, and it's just nice to see, like I said, alive again and active and actually doing things again, not just sort of being this sort of
running
sleeping.
On fumes.
Yeah,
I
definitely felt like that
agree.
before.
And well, you've said it. He's back. We remember back when Chris Eccleston and David Tennant, when they were the incumbent doctors originally, we got used to seeing the towering, booming presence of Russell T Davies on television, didn't we? Doing chat shows, kids shows like Blue Peter, and there was Totally Doctor Who. It seems like he was never off our screen. In fact, he was probably on more than David Tennant was for a while at least, wasn't he? He was everywhere.
Oh yeah, because he loved it. You could just see he loved the attention in a good way because he could play an audience. He had charisma, and Russell's a showman. I've always said this about Russell. He doesn't even have to have a lot to say, and it's just interesting just to see him in interviews. I
believe that not all, I mean, certainly not everybody who works for the BBC is like this. I mean, look at the likes of Gary Lineker, for heaven's sake. But I believe that in his original incarnation, certainly, Russell T Davies always allied himself with us on the sofa. He'd been making the damn thing, writing it, producing it, having a hand in probably everything by the sounds of it. But once it was done and once it was delivered, I always felt that Russell kind of joined us on the sofa, rubbing his hands over, oh, isn't this fun? And he was sort of gathering us all together collectively as a nation around the television. And I think that's not something that he consciously did. I think some people just have that and others don't.
Yeah, and I think also he was very aware it was a family show. I think if you compare to like other dramas which haven't got that family audience, you don't get this type of interaction. You don't get this sort of being so open. And I think Russell understands, I've got children watching this, I've got teenagers, I've got adults who have watched the show for God knows how many years. And he very much is aware of that. And he's trying to like reach out to as much of the different ages as he could.
I think he's engaging that and reconnecting with that side to him a little now as well. I mean, I know that Russell is a more contentious figure than he used to be, partly because of some of the things that he said politically in his time in between stints showrunning Doctor Who. And he's entitled to do that. He's a sovereign individual as much as any of us, and he's entitled to his opinions, isn't he? But obviously when you're running a family-orientated TV show, there's a time to perhaps guard one's tongue and assume a kind of a more genial figure, isn't there? And to know when to speak and to know when to perhaps shut up.
Yeah. Well,
putting it politely.
Versus like an awards atmosphere, because that was the big thing he did last year.
Yeah.
Like an awards do is full of industry people. It's full of actors. It's full of his peers. And their talking points are very different to yours and mine. They're very different to the normal family that sat on the sofa on a Saturday. And I think Russell very much, he reflects which people he's got around him, I think, a lot with Russell. And you can see that really much dependent on the interviewer.
Such a valid point. I mean, he wasn't, the comments that he gave earlier on in the year that well, it was last year, wasn't it? Now,
Yeah.
the comments that he made like 6 to 9 months ago, very contentious. But just as you say, I think we forget that we weren't always privy. Perhaps people in the industry have always spoken like that. He wasn't on the National TV Awards, for example, at ITV in prime time, was he? It was a pretty much closed environment.
I honestly think that side of Russell is we got to look behind the curtain almost at maybe what producers and these people who are just on the set maybe talk. And we don't really see that. Even on social media, it's not the same. Whereas when you're talking to an audience that's captive, and you could tell he very much knew that, he had, because he'd won the award for It's a Sin, he knew he had those people paying attention to him.
In the palm of his hand, yeah.
So it's very different. You're right,
it's completely different. Paul Toastland said, I couldn't take to him before then.
Yeah, and also, and I said this last year, he was almost stuck a bit last year, I felt, because Jodie and Chris were still on the telly. So he couldn't fully start to talk about his Doctor Who yet, because that would be seen as overshadowing. And he even got some parts of the fandom did tell him, oh, you're overshadowing Jodie and Chris.
Yeah.
So he had that also going on. And now he doesn't have to worry about trying to he's the showrunner now. Yeah, he doesn't have to step on anybody's toes. It's his show now.
Yes, we're live streaming this edition of Type 40 Extra for you to YouTube and Facebook on a Saturday afternoon for us. We don't know whatever time zone or time stream that you're in, but let us know. Come and join in the comments section. Let us know what you think of all of this. Russell T Davies is indeed out on the circuit, and this feels to me, Charlotte, like, okay, we've seen people speak before. David Tennant's done a few bits to camera and things like that on Breakfast Time. They've had sound bites. I'd call them sound bites. No proper interviews and no rounds of publicity. And in this case, it's fair to say that Russell T Davies, who appeared on the Graham Norton Show last night as of time of recording, so that was the 20th of January 2023, this appearance on the Graham Norton Show, he wasn't there actually to talk about Doctor Who, was he? He was there talking about something else.
Yeah, he had another show, which is funny because I think we all forgot he had this show coming out before.
Yeah, it's called Nolly, and it's a kind of biopic, although I think it's more a snapshot of a particular moment in time rather than an all-encompassing thing about someone's entire life. And it's about the actress Noel Gordon, who, she was a very, very famous TV star in Britain all throughout, I think from the late 60s, certainly through the 1970s and into the 1980s. My nan absolutely adored Noel Gordon. Have you ever heard of her, Charlotte?
No, but I've heard Crossroads. Like, I know that was a show, but they even talked about this in the interview. Like, people of my generation don't really know this character at all because she sort of disappeared a bit, and they even touched upon that in the interview.
Yeah, I get the impression that this is yet another one. This project is one of Russell T Davies' sort of bucket list projects, just like It's a Sin was. That was a story that he talked about telling for years and years and years. Originally it was called The Boys, wasn't it? It was his AIDS drama that he had this desire to tell, and this seems to be the same. Radio Times have marked Nolly out as one of their highlights, things to look forward to in 2023, along with Doctor Who, as luck would have it there. So this show, it is on the radar. It starts very soon. When does it start? First week of February, 2nd of February, 2023. All 3 episodes arrive on ITVX, whatever that is. Do you know what's ITVX?
Oh, I've had this debate with my mum because she kept seeing it advertised and she was like, what is it? Is it a streaming thing? Because she doesn't understand the whole streaming thing. It's basically ITV's free streaming service. So if you've got access to what they had before, which is ITV Hub, I think it was called.
ITV Hub, yeah.
You can access this because we've got access to it, even though we never signed up for it.
So they've upgraded.
Yeah.
It works. I think I can watch this. I could watch, because obviously I haven't got a TV license, but I think I can watch ITV Hub past a certain date. I never did. It's not nothing on ITV I ever want to watch. I should hasten to add. But I think the stuff that's streaming, as long as it's not broadcast live, the stuff that's streaming to the internet, you can watch without a TV license, obviously, because it's supported by advertising as well. So yeah, that makes sense now. If it's their version of the iPlayer, mixed in with whatever Now TV have going on. That is starting to line up a little bit. But that's what he was there largely to promote. And obviously Russell T Davies and Graham Norton, they are well acquainted. He's been on Graham's radio show certainly a few times, and in one case with Stephen Moffat, they did a sort of the two-man thing, didn't they? I don't know what that was for. That was to promote something. It couldn't have been the 50th anniversary. It must have been. Oh, I know.
Think when they've done work together, and I can't.
It was for that initial line of Target books when Russell novelised Rose and Stephen Moffat novelised something too, didn't he? I can't remember which one he did.
Or did Gatiss do it? Or did Gatiss write a book? Because he's done some of the Target books.
Yeah, but they are very, very well acquainted. And of course, as Doctor Who fans, we are more than acquainted with Graham Norton, aren't we? Because he gate crashed the very first episode of New Who back in 2005. Do you remember that?
No, yeah, and wasn't there also something with a Matt episode when it was like the end of the Angels, the first Angels episode, and the graphic turned up just when Matt was giving that gorgeous speech, and it was just like, really, BBC?
Oh, yes. So, Doctor Who fans, we've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Graham Norton. I've always felt his brand of comedy and him as a person, it's just not for me, it just doesn't work for me. But he's been around for a very long time and he's very successful at what he does. Who am I to criticise Graham Norton? He's not Michael Parkinson. This is not a proper journalist, but he's entered his show, this Graham Norton show, it's been running all of these years. It's largely fluff, isn't it? The questions, even from when I used to watch it, they were never very, very deep. And it looks like, just looking at the clips that are on YouTube this morning, which I knew this would happen, YouTube and Twitter are loaded up with clips from this show because it's Doctor Who. That's what Doctor Who fans do. They snip and they post and they share. And it looks like it's still surface level stuff. But the virtue of this show was then and still is now that he has some superb guests on this show, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. And it's the mixture. That's what, because I only ever watch this show that's an actor I like who's like on it that week, or a comedian I like pops on. And you just get such a weird combination. Like I remember once I watched Harrison Ford and Lee Mack on the same show. And you could see Harrison was just like, where have you got this weirdo from? He could just, you didn't have a clue who Lee Mack was, and he was just frowning constantly at Lee's jokes.
It sounds about right. David Mullins says, passion. It's been missing since midway through Moffat's reign. Somewhere into Peter Capaldi's reign, something changed with Moffat. I think it was fatigue in Stephen Moffat's case. I think he'd taken on a little more than he could manage, than he could physically and emotionally manage. I've never heard him talk. I have heard him mention it briefly now, Charlotte, where he says, I was running Sherlock and Doctor Who at the same time. I must have been mad. That's as deep as he's gone on that, isn't it, Stephen Moffat?
Yeah, but you could also see, because I watched both Sherlock and Doctor Who at that time, and you could see bits of Doctor Who bleeding into Sherlock and bits of Sherlock bleeding into Doctor Who. So I think he and he's only human at the end of the day. So those are two big shows. So of course that would, and I also get the impression, because he's not spoke a lot about this, but he's given little hints, that he was just fed up of having to deal with all the sort of politicking that the BBC was trying to force on him.
Well, what had happened was, for the people out there who don't know, is that towards the very end of Stephen's time on it, that was when the Equality and Diversity Charter was brought in, wasn't it? It was mandated by I don't think was it by the government or by Ofcom, but it was mandated from the Director General of the BBC down to them and given to Stephen Moffat to deal with, and he was given notes on what series 10 of Doctor Who was to be, and how its makeup and what he must include. Literally tick boxing.
And he's, like I said, he's been very polite because he still loves the BBC and wants to work for them, but he's basically sort of said it got frustrating. I think it's the vibe he sort of said. Yeah.
And I think, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that Stephen Moffat is more than capable of, as a writer, of coping with that within the creative boundaries of a script. I also think that he's a seasoned enough producer and therefore kind of diplomat that he could probably field those people who would be going to him with expectations if it wasn't for the fact that he had been in that job at that moment in time for about 8 years. And I think he'd already made noises that he wanted to vacate the role before then. So I think expecting it of somebody who, I don't think he had one foot out the door, but certainly needed to recharge his batteries. Whereas now we're in a situation where Russell T Davies comes in, but he's far from alone. He has the support, the facility behind him with Bad Wolf, who obviously they know the BBC inside out because Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter both worked pretty high up within the BBC. So there's nothing about the setup there that they don't know. So he can concentrate on the creative stuff. They will give him perhaps a little more respect and room to breathe. Yeah, he'll still have to watch these mandates and these quotas, but again, he's properly recharged and engaged, and he's very clear about the task at hand, isn't he? So it doesn't worry me at all. I don't think it's any reflection on Stephen may have struggled.
It's not, and I still hope that either for Shooty or I don't think we'll see Stephen to do with the 60th. He might do some interviews and like promote it, but I still have a hope that he writes something for Shooty, because I think just a one-off episode of Moffat would be brilliant, because he's had the time away now. He's had that bit of breathing space away from the property. And I think if Russell was just like, if you just gave me one episode and I'll give you free reign, I think that would be so much fun just to see what Stephen could do.
I knew this would happen. This is what happens when Doctor Who fans get together. We go down rabbit holes, because it's funnily enough, whilst you've reminded me, have you seen that video that Stephen Moffat has put out? I think he was accepting some sort of award or promoting something this week, and it was a video that he shot of him in his own study. So his room lined with books. He's got his Mac there as well, and he's got props that he at the time nicked from the Doctor Who set for his then young son. Have you seen this clip? And he talks a little bit about, it's really, really charming, and you can hear in the way that he talks about Doctor Who that I suspect that this could happen, that he could become involved to some minor degree, even if it is just submitting a script now and again when he has time. Because
when he feels like it, almost.
Yeah,
because I do think Russell has to be careful. We do need new blood. It can't just be, God, we know this name, we know this writer, we know this director. It has to. It's such a hard balancing act he's going to have to do to get faces and experience more than anything he can trust, but then do get those new writers and that new sort of feel to go with his new era as well. It has to be a balance, I think.
We've got a couple of comments here from Ghoul Ferrers, who says, "Sir, good evening. Ara Doctor, I have a question. If they're pregnant in 4 centimeters already, but she's only 5 months in pregnant, what will happen?" I couldn't possibly comment on this stream, but thank you for your company. I do hope all is well with whatever's going on there at whatever time of night it is there. Yeah, just please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cluster bell so you get all the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it. It is mostly talk about pop culture, geeky, sci-fi, Doctor Who style stuff here, and not an actual medical doctor. But good luck with
like the doctor, like the actual doctor on the show says, "I'm not that kind of doctor."
Yeah, well, we're talking there about Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat and how they could lean to one another for a little bit of support, and that's exactly what's been happening this week. We've had David Tennant and Peter Capaldi. They were there at, let me get this right, they were in the West End for the premiere of Stephen Moffat's new play. Well, I say the new play. It's ran before in other theatres throughout the country. It's called The Unfriend. It's arrived in the West End at the Criterion Theatre. It's directed by Mark Gatiss, stars Reece Shearsmith, so 2 of the League of Gentlemen. Also stars Amanda Abington and Francis Barber. And they were all there. Of course they were. So Stephen Moffat was there, Mark Gatiss was there, but so were the 10th/14th and the 12th Doctors. I think Peter looks like he may have had a couple of whiskies. What do you think?
He looks like he's enjoyed his night out, if we're being polite.
And David Tennant in a that's a very thick woolly he's got it on there, isn't it? And yeah, he's growing the stubble through too. It's because it's so cold, isn't it? So you can't really blame him or Peter Capaldi for layering up too. But it's lovely to see them together, isn't it? When because there they are, they're supporting one another, but supporting their friend Stephen Moffat too, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's something I do love about all the Doctors. Like, they just have this vibe of being a massive family. Whenever you see any of them at any, and I think Shooty's very quickly going to become a part of that. They just seem to be really good friends. Whenever you see Matt with any of them, it's the same. Chris, not so much, because Chris is usually moaning about something. So
He's a little bit distant.
Yeah, but the others, it's so nice to see.
Yeah, there was another one there as well. Peter Davison was there too, with his wife Elizabeth Morton, the writer. And so there they are, chilling out. I think David Tennant's on the soft stuff, so he must have been driving. I don't know.
That looks like a Coke, doesn't it, or something like that?
It does, yeah. But then again, Peter Davison seems to be drinking the same thing. So maybe there's something in the Cokes, and because the Mrs. Davison, maybe she's the one. Maybe she's the designated driver. I don't know, because she doesn't look. David Tennant looks a bit drunk there too. Yeah, bless their hearts. Yes, that's always nice to see. They were out and about. But whilst they were doing that, Russell T Davies, he was on telly. He was there on the Graham Norton Show with an incredible list of co-stars there. So he was there with Michelle Williams. There was an Oscar-winning actress, I believe, Helena Bonham Carter. The British actress has been in so many films and TV shows and lots of successful plays too. I think she's still does theatre work. Also, there was a lady called Oti Mabuse, who is on. She was on Strictly. Now on the other one. She's now on the Ice one as well, or instead of. I can't quite work it out.
No, she's doing Dancing on Ice again. No, again, for some reason she's doing Dancing on Ice this year.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. And there's a pop star there at the far right. They come and go so quickly. Don't expect me to remember. What was her name? I can't remember.
Oh, I honestly, I got this on this morning and I just skipped like most of the stuff. Like, I listened a bit to what Helena Bonham Carter said because I quite like her, and I listened to Russell. That was about it.
Yeah. So it's great to see them there, and Russell. Obviously, he's there representing Nolly. But this being the BBC, this being Graham Norton too, of course, they did mention Doctor Who after all, didn't they? If only quite fleetingly, Charlotte.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, hi, Russell, so you're back. It was sort of the first thing, and it was just a little bit.
So, it's such a little bit, in fact. I think that we can get this out as long as we comment on it without YouTube snapping us down. So let's put it on screen now and see. This is exactly what Russell had to say when they got round to Doctor Who there on the show.
Let's see if YouTube likes us, folks. And it doesn't give us a strike.
Because you're back in the world of Doctor Who.
I'm back. I love it. I love it so much.
So he's back.
Oh.
No, I'm not get commentary and then we'll get away with it.
You once interviewed me about Doctor Who.
I love this. He has to go in.
Over, and he took a deep breath and then he took this deep sigh and you went, that's all very well, but can't you write something real?
Which is a bit rich coming from Graham Norton.
Great.
It
was the radio. I was relaxed.
Considering what he's famous for.
But you've got a new Doctor Who now.
We've got Shooty Gat. We've got David Tennant coming up. Lovely David Tennant, Catherine Tate for 3
I love that. He's like, no, David
in
Tennant's
November,
first.
and then our brand new.
Make sure he gets them in there.
Yeah.
Shooty Gatwell, who is. Oh, there he is. Absolutely.
He said it. He said brand new Doctor at Christmas. Can we take that as...
I know.
Do you think the fact that he said Christmas, do you think that was a slip of the tongue, or do you think we can take that as confirmation that this will be on Christmas Day, not on New Year's Day? What would you reckon?
Well, they've said festive, haven't they, up till now, in all the press stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he did maybe slip Christmas when he shouldn't have. I wouldn't be surprised if he did slightly slip there.
And he obviously got the plug in there for Shooty. There was a nice round of applause when they mentioned Shooty Gatwell, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think Shooty's really starting to people are starting to recognise him a bit now as the Doctor. Even just as, he's the one who's coming. Because we've said this before, there was a bit of confusion for a while, wasn't there? And I think Shooty's finally starting now to get seen as, yes, he's the one coming soon.
We've got some more comments here on YouTube, and they're not medical questions; they're proper questions.
That's good.
Aidan McGeer says he makes fun of fans of Doctor Who and that kind of pop culture too much, always focusing on some of the extreme ones, depicting fans as creepy or weird, or like how he regarded the cosplayers. Who's this we're talking about, Aidan?
Is this
on the
Russell
show for the 50th?
Graham.
I don't know who he means. The Dalek wife of the tattoo guy?
Was he talking about Graham Norton, because I know he did have Matt and David on for the 50th.
Oh, I see. You're talking about Graham Norton now.
Yeah.
So this is I couldn't say. I mean,
Well,
that's Graham Norton's shtick, isn't it? Everybody who comes onto his show, if they're not these sort of these stars, he does softly belittle them, doesn't he? It's one of the things I don't like about him.
He pokes fun, because I remember there was a clip also that if people don't know about Henry Cavill, for example, he's a massive geek and he's into his Warhammer. And there's a clip of him literally sort of saying, it's a bit silly, isn't it, that you've got your armies and you paint them. And you can see Henry being a bit like, yeah. And you could see he was sort of thinking, like, I'm not going to say what I want to.
Yeah, you're kind of missing the point, Graham.
Yeah.
This is what, again, this is not a show that, even when I did watch the BBC, this is a show that I think I watched the first 2 or 3 years it was on and quickly sort of got the measure of it and realised his shtick, and it just doesn't work for me. It must work for some people because he's been making 18 seasons of it now, something like that. He was very successful on Channel 4 with pretty much the same show for a good 5 or 6 years before that.
But I think that just shows, though, it's like, I love the fact that Russell, even in interview, was like, your eyes went over, was what he said, wasn't it? And he it feels like a little bit like he's saying, no, I know you don't find this interesting, but I love this stuff. That's the vibe I was getting. Because it is, like, as much as sort of geek stuff is starting to quite mainstream now, it is sort of still seen a little bit as, oh, that's a bit geeky and a bit weird. So I think you sort of see that a bit in Graham Norton, that sort of old attitude about the sort of things.
I get the impression that Graham Norton's, he must be a geek about something, because pretty much everybody is. I mean, he certainly fawns over a lot of those guests, and you can tell that he and Russell know one another. I think the way that they were quite playful with one another in a way that he wasn't with everybody else. You could tell, because obviously when you've got either Hollywood stars or simply people who are a little bit younger on the show, then he's not going to have that kind of familiarity. You see, like Graham Norton's been around since the 90s. Russell T Davies has been around since the 90s as well. He's certainly been on the show before and on the radio show. So there's a familiarity there. So maybe he knows just how far he can push it. I do get. I agree with Aidan. I think he does view fans and fandoms and geekiness. He clearly does look down his nose a little at it. But
he
the
does.
good thing about Russell is a great ambassador for people like us, because he will not indulge that at all. Sometimes he's said the odd thing now and again, but I think it's always been tongue firmly in his cheek. So we got the thing that I enjoyed about this as well, about the energy of it, is, and this is something else too that people are talking about, because he was on with these three ladies. So we've got Oti Mabuse, Helena Bonham Carter, and Michelle Williams, and Russell instantly, when they started talking about Doctor Who, Graham Norton asked them, didn't he? Are you aware of Doctor Who?
Yeah.
And Michelle Williams said, "Oh yes," immediately. I mean, she's a good actress, Michelle Williams. Maybe she could be talking bollocks for all we know, but she said yes. And Helena Bonham Carter, she would, because she's of the age, she'd probably have grown up with Tom Baker. I think. I'm not quite sure how old she is. Maybe in her late 50s.
Yeah, and also she's been involved in some pretty big sort of fantasy type things like Harry Potter. She was in the Harry Potter movies. So it's not a massive leap, I would say, if she's part of that big movie thing, to understand what Doctor Who is.
Have you seen that clip where he asks them about it, and then he says to Michelle Williams, "Oh, you should be in it. Oh, and so should you.
You and you."
And you see, he invites them all three to be on. I mean, I don't know if whether that will go anywhere, but it's a fascinating idea, isn't it? And people have jumped on it, haven't they? So I think the speculation. Well, let's nip it in the bud now. The obvious speculation, what people are going to say, quite obviously, that all three of them will be up for the role of the Rani at some point if you listen to fandom. But if you were to cast either Helena, Michelle, or Oti, I don't know if Oti's an actress or not, whether she's just a dancer. I don't really know this one or what she does. But yeah, she's got a great smile and fantastic legs. So yeah, she's got fantastic everything. But do you think that it's feasible that one or two or all three of them could indeed appear in Doctor Who after that?
I think Helena's feasible because she's worked with Russell. We know he likes to cast people he's worked with before. And she because that's the thing, she's known for kooky, weird characters, but she also played Princess Margaret in The Crown.
Yeah.
very well, and that was a much more sort of down to earth type of character. So I think she could. I can see Helen, and I think she could be either a Time Lord of some description, not the Rani, because I think it's just too obvious. If I'm being honest,
That's where they're going to go. They
yeah.
always
Oh
go
yes.
to Rani.
But even if she's just like another Time Lord, that could be interesting.
Yeah, Romana would be my choice, to tell you the truth.
Oh yeah, Romana, I could see that actually.
She's got a lovely mix, I think, come to think of it, of the qualities that both Mary and Lala had. I do see in Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, she's clearly as mad as a snake. Sorry, Helena, but you are.
That's why we love her.
Yeah, she plays Enola Holmes, sort of kooky aunt, doesn't she, in those Netflix movies? Yes. She's good in those.
She suits that role.
She's always good. But I get the impression that Helena Bonham Carter, I mean, I would, obviously her agent would command a certain percentage, but I think if it was down to her, she would just do, and she's in a position where she probably can pick and choose her work. Michelle Williams, I think she's probably there too, come to think of it, but I'm less interested by her. It's not that I don't rate her. I just think she's a little bit, she's very Hollywood, isn't she? And she seems
I think she's a bit
cold.
too Hollywood. Whereas
definitely.
I think Russell, if he's going to go for big names, I've got a feeling they're going to be more British big names versus American, because he knows. That's the other thing with Russell. He's been in the industry for so long now. He probably knows pretty much everybody, acting wise, who he could just call up and be like, "Do you want to have this part?"
He's got some of the strangest friendships too. I mean, if you follow him on Instagram, you will have seen him out for lunch with the late Ruth Maddock only in September. Ruth Maddock is a huge character, was a hugely significant character in popular culture in Great Britain all the way through the 1980s in Heidi High. And, you don't think, well, all famous Welsh people know one another, that doesn't work like that, does it? But, they were friends. She'd been in one of his dramas. They had remained friends, and she passed away a few weeks ago. And he gave a beautiful tribute to her. But he's just as likely to talk about some big Hollywood star that he's also worked with or is acquainted with or whatever else. And it doesn't seem to have, in my view, I don't think it's changed Russell in any way, but this is one of the things I like about him, even though he says a lot of things that I don't agree with. This is one of the reasons why I respect him so much. Isn't it about time we had a male Rani? Asks.
Oh, the BBC would never allow
that. If Russell T Davies brings back Creature from the Pit, she can play Lady Adrasta. Which one, though, Gary? Which one do you think of
that's a thought. I think
OT, Michelle,
that's a thought. She'd probably have more fun being like a creature, wouldn't she? Like in makeup and having all that.
A creature. Yeah, the possibilities. I do genuinely believe. Well, she's played a simian. I'm not sure what kind of monkey
Planet of the Apes.
She played in the Planet of the Apes movie, because she was married to Tim Burton, wasn't she, for a very long time. So I think she was in several of his films, come to think of it. So yeah, I know she definitely played one of the apes in the Planet of the Apes. So hey, she doesn't mind the old prosthetics, or didn't then. She might feel differently about it now. I don't know. You'll have to ask her, Gary. You'll have to ask her. The best Graham moment was Star Wars leads playing with lasers. What, lasers? You mean the lightsabers?
Do you mean like he had once he had Ewan McGregor on, and that was quite interesting because you could see he gave him a lightsaber, and you could see Ewan could still pretty much do all the moves he probably got drilled into him when he was in the movies. Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, have you not seen that clip?
No. Like I say, I stopped watching them years ago. Oh, we have confirmation here from the from our Welsh ambassador. Oh, Darren.
That's good. We've got an official response watching in the chat now.
Who says the most famous Welsh people probably do know each other, actually, as so many of them come from Port Talbot. Is that right, Darren? Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, that was as much as we really got from the big man, from the booming, towering figure of Russell T Davies there on the Graham Norton Show. I'd like to think that, obviously, David Tennant is very, very busy. He's probably on to other jobs already. He finished shooting Doctor Who around September time, so he's on to other things. We'll probably see Tennant and various other people when it comes to the anniversary, won't we, Charlotte, doing some of the pub for that?
Oh yeah, like even they even managed to wheel Jodie out now and again when they had to. So
Oh,
I
God.
can't see them, but David not doing lots and lots of promotion. And like I said, I can just remember the 50th, and I've said this in other streams, being such an event because it wasn't just a show that felt big. It felt like everybody involved was doing promotion, was interviewing, was going convention circuit. Like everybody, you saw them so visually everywhere. So I can't help but think, well, surely we're going to get that again, but even more because this is the 60th. And it's like Russell coming back, that sort of feeling of the show's trying to get its glory back. It's trying to reach out and grab people again.
And as always, I think no matter what's been said in the time in between, in my view, Russell T Davies still looks like a formidable ringmaster for this show. I'm very excited at what the next 12 months could bring. I believe that this wasn't an actual Doctor Who item, but when the proper Doctor Who talk does begin, I think we're going to have a good time this year with some of this, and we'll be all over it here across Type 40 with the Type 40 podcast, Type 40 Extra here, this strand of exclusive videos, and Type 40 Live. Doctor Who is filming series 14 stroke season 40, whatever you want to call it. We're still not quite sure what they're going to call it when it's actually released. It could end up being renumbered back to series 1 again. There's a frightening thought that could confuse everybody. But yeah, they're filming it now. Shooter Gatwa and Miller Gibson running around Bristol, I think, now, this last couple of days. Lots going on there. And we'll be certain to get into some of that when Type 40 Live returns, because the time, I couldn't forget this, could I? Couldn't forget this. So the time is almost here, Charlotte. I don't know about you. I've been getting messages about this most days, which is lovely. We went off on a break from Type 40 Live with the big Christmas party. Well, we needed time to recover, didn't we? It was that simple.
Yes. We don't watch Power of the Doctor, so we needed so many weeks, you see, to get over that.
But yeah, I've certainly had a lot of messages and lots of tags and stuff on Twitter. When's the live streams coming back? What's going on? What's going on? But yeah, Type 40 Live is back for a 6th series. Can you believe it? And yeah, 80 odd shows that we put out so far. We're back this coming Thursday, the 26th of January, 2023 at 8 p.m. UK time for the next iteration of Type 40 Live to take us through this first half of the anniversary year. Lots to talk about, Charlotte. I can't wait to get started. This is the first time we've confirmed the time and the date. Are you excited too?
Oh yes. I sort of say you lot are part of my YouTube family, so it'd be nice to get everybody back together.
And it very much includes those watching in the live chat. Lots of you are here today too. Thank you to everybody who's jumped on this short live show too. And yeah, you're getting the first word on when we're back. It's all coming together very nicely. Got lots of plans, certainly in the first block of live streams. We know largely what we're going to be doing, and we're almost certainly due to get some people dropping into, some guests from both YouTube and who knows where else, where they'll materialize in from, and lots of the kind of talking points that we like having and that you guys seem to like hearing. So yeah, if you haven't liked this video yet, please do. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel for Type 40 Live coming your way again from this Thursday onwards through towards Easter, I would imagine. Yeah, that around that time. And yeah, we've got so much to talk about in the anniversary year. Please, yes, everybody out there, if you think you're subscribed, also check you're still subscribed, because YouTube does like to mess us around like that. And spread the word. Type 40 Live is on the comeback trail too.
And we've got lots of fun ideas. We've sort of been brainstorming, haven't we? As much as I can say behind the scenes. So we've got lots of fun ideas.
We get together, we talk about these things. Wouldn't it be fun if we did this? Wouldn't it be fun if we did that? And we do like to evolve the show, but at the same point, we know that if it's not broke, why fix it? So there'll be lots of the things that you guys enjoy contributing towards and commenting on, and the things that we like doing too. All the nonsense that'll be back in place. and all of the regulars too. They're coming back to the mics and the webcams. Everybody, I think, is, because obviously people have other commitments over Christmas and New Year, and I think everybody's pretty much sorted now, and we're all raring to go. If you are too, make sure you're still notified and turn on the cloister bell so you get every single notice about not just Type 40 Live, but the Type 40 podcasts and extra videos too. This strand's going to keep going over the next few months, even if there won't be quite so many of them. I've loved producing these. I've tried a lot of new ideas as part of this sort of expansion of Type 40 Extra. So let us know what you'd like to see more of too in the comments section, whether it's another unboxing video. I did my first unboxing video, Charlotte. That was fun.
Oh, so did it unbox nicely for you?
It seemed to work out okay. Yeah. I think I need a headset mic to do the next one, because I'd got the mic in one place and I couldn't see if because I got my mic in my face like I have now, but I couldn't unbox and speak into the mic.
So what you need is what everybody takes the mick out of me for having, which is my Sky Sports headphones.
Mission Control. We used to call those Madonna mics. That's how old I am.
Yeah, I can see that.
Madonna mics. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Yeah, if you want some more of this and you want to stay notified too, join us. Follow us on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who, or come and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group too, for yet more conversation, more comments, all those other talking points as we you roll out the live streams and the podcasts. I think that about covers it, Charlotte. I'm really happy to have Russell T Davies back, and maybe one day we'll be able to coax him onto Type 40 Live with a jam tart and maybe his own mug. I don't know. What do you think our chances are?
Oh, you never know with Russell. He does pop up at the weirdest places sometimes.
He does. It did. I can say this now. It did nearly happen. We were talking to Russell's people, but I think he kind of got a better offer. And to be honest, I'd much rather he spends the next few years sorting out Doctor Who and getting that going again than spends a couple of hours chewing the fat with us. So
and also I want to be surprised. That's my other thing. Like, as much as it's so much fun to see the stuff that's coming out, like the filming and everything else, I'd still want to I don't know how you felt, but I've sort of purposely been not looking at stuff because I just don't want to know too much going in to the 60th.
I know exactly what you mean. I think I've been looking, but I've almost been sort of instantly wiping some of it from my memory, and certainly not stewing on it. Oh, what could that be? Where could that go? Because it could go anywhere with this show, and particularly when other people have been running it, it's looked like exactly what it is. And usually when it turned up on screen, it was nowhere near as imaginative and as engaging as you would have hoped. But with Russell back in place and with the resources of Bad Wolf and Sony and Disney Plus, I think the possibilities are really open. And I think the budget, it isn't so through the roof that means that they will not be inventive with it.
Yeah, because Russell's come out, hasn't he, and sort of said, "Oh, it's not that silly figure that everybody was quoting." And I actually, that comforted me a bit when I heard that. I was like, no, that's better.
Me too.
It doesn't need 10 ton of money thrown at this. It just needs good quality writing and actors and everything else.
Who knows? We've got till November to wait for that, but there'll be lots to talk about in the meantime. And I'm sure there's going to be several Doctor Who treats to come between now and then, not least of all the return of Type 40 Live. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, Charlotte. It's been good to catch up with you, and I'll see you again in a few days' time. And hopefully I'll see the rest of you guys too. Let us know what you think of all of this in the comments section about Russell T Davies on the Graham Norton Show. Can we take that as confirmation that it would definitely be on Christmas Day? And which of those three ladies do you think would make the best Rani? Let us know in the comments section. We'll see you on Thursday, 8 p.m. here on the Spacebook channel for Type 40 Live. But that's it for this time. Have a great weekend. We'll speak to you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Speak to you soon.